Thank you. This evening I'm pleased to welcome a very special guest to our school committee meeting. As many of you are aware, we are preparing for our accreditation with the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, known to many of us as NEASC. NEASC actually dates back to 1885. Its roots were in many of the very prestigious independent colleges, universities, and prep schools in New England. And over time it has spread to serve public colleges, universities, secondary schools, international schools, the list goes on. And it is, I can tell you with my years of experience, it is considered really the most prestigious of all the accrediting agencies in the country. And so our accreditation work is very important not only to the high school, but also to the town of Sandwich. So this evening, Janet Allison happens to be with us. She is the head of the Commission on Secondary Schools. But I've asked Ellen Boris to come up to the microphone first in order to introduce Janet to all of us. And then we'll let Janet speak for about 20 minutes to give us a little update.
Thank you, Dr. Canfield, and Happy New Year to all members of the school committee. Hope you had a wonderful holiday. Janet Allison is the director of the Commission for Public Secondary Schools, which is as we know it, as NEASC. One of the things I know that you've heard me say over the years is that NEASC isn't a process that stops and starts every 10 years, but it's a guiding light that informs us as we work towards continuing and sustain school improvement. Janet very generously gave of her time today and spent the afternoon with our steering committee, 18 very dedicated people who are co-chairing the 7 standards, plus 4 co-chairs. She then had the opportunity to have a conversation with Dr. Canfield and has generously offered to provide you with an update and some background on the importance of education through accreditation. I have to say that I feel very privileged to know Janet as long as I have, and I feel that our high school has benefited indirectly from her guidance and wisdom, and it's a privilege to introduce her to all of you.
Thank you, Ellen. Good evening, everyone. Matthew, before I begin my formal remarks, is Matthew still here? He left? Well, please convey to Matthew that anytime before my visit to a school, I always take a look at the school's website, the district website, and I did not realize it had just been done by a student. So please convey my kind thoughts to him. A very, very effective job, well done, and I think it's a testament to what students are capable of doing given the opportunities and the guidance from staff. So that being said, Richard and Ellen had asked me some time ago if I would come down to a meeting and particularly talk to the board about the accreditation process. And so being respectful of time and agendas, and I can see there are many other items on here, I did bring packets for board members, and I think there are plenty. So if you would just help me with that. And I'll just begin by talking about who we are a little bit. Dr. Canfield mentioned that we are the oldest educational accrediting association in the country. There are 6 others, and New England is unique in many ways, and perhaps one of the reasons that it is, I think, highly recognized across the country and internationally. We accredit over 2,000 schools throughout the world. It's not just the United States. And our Commission on American and International Schools Abroad is rapidly increasing because there's great interest, particularly by American families, but not exclusively, when they live abroad, to make sure that their children are receiving quality education, because the majority of them will come back here to the States for post-secondary work. So we began at Harvard University 126 years ago. We celebrated our 126th year this year at our annual meeting. And a group of professors simply asked the question, how do we know that what we're doing is affecting or impacting the education of our students and the quality of what we're providing. And here we are 126 years later, and we're still asking the same question because it's still very relevant. And we are a group of commissions. There are 6 of us within the association, and we all work in the same building, which is unique. Other than one other organization, the Western Association, all of the other educational accrediting associations have different offices. For example, in the Northwest, the commission that accredits colleges and universities is located in the state of Washington. The group that accredits the public school systems is located in Idaho. So their lines of communication and the distance in which they travel to do their work is very different. All of the professional staff for all 6 commissions, public elementary, middle, public high schools, Commission on Independent Schools, Commission on Career and Technical Institutions, and our Commission on Higher Education and CASA, we all work in the same office. So we meet regularly as directors, professional staff, support staff. So we're very close in terms of our work. We do a lot of sharing. In terms of the high school, I've been here today. I think many of you know, but I do want to mention the fact that Ellen Boris is a member of our commission, and we have 26 New England public school educators who serve on the Commission of Public Secondary Schools, and that is the body that makes the decisions about schools accreditation. There are 4 of us on the staff. I have 3 associates and myself. We do not vote. We provide information, materials, we answer questions, but it is that body that makes the decisions. And they meet 4 times a year for 2 days each time, and they typically review about 125 reports from our 660 school membership within the Public Secondary School Commission. It's a large commission. And they do all of that work pro bono. It's all done voluntarily. One of the strengths of this process is the membership. You are part of the New England Association in Sandwich because the high school is accredited by this organization. And I ask today for people on the faculty to stand and be recognized for the work they've done in going out on visits. These are people who leave school, families, elderly parents in some cases, obviously the students. They go out and spend 4 days visiting a school, just as we will ask 15 or 16 of their colleagues in October of 2013 to come spend almost 4 days here. And they'll meet with school committee members, they'll meet with central office administrators, parents, students, support staff, professional staff, service organizations, business community, higher ed people, any number of connections that you may have within the greater school community. And all of that work that they do is again done voluntarily. And you've had a number of people on this high school faculty and administrators who have given of their time to do that. And that's how we work. These people do it, again, pro bono. It's done voluntarily. That's the strength of our process. It's challenging. We send out about 65 visiting committees a year to public high schools throughout New England. And this coming spring season, I believe we have 34 visits that will take place. And all of that work that the visiting committee will examine and ultimately write a report on, which becomes your accreditation report, is based on the self-study. And I wanted to just talk to you about that, because the self-study is where this high school faculty and administration, in concert with the school community, is engaged right currently in the process. We use, and for board members, we have standards for accreditation, and all of our commissions within the association have standards. They're peer practitioner-based standards. They're written by colleagues in New England. We don't download them off a computer. They're written And we had a committee, we revised them, refine them, if you will, every 5 years. We try not to make a lot of significant changes, except on a decennial basis, because we function on a 10-year cycle. So Sandwich High School currently is in year 8 of their 10-year cycle. In year 10, Sandwich High School will host a visit. So and they did a lot of work last year as well, their self-study will be prepared for that visit. And that self-study is based on standards for accreditation. And as I said, they're qualitative standards. This is not about exclusively about test scores. And that's not how we make decisions about schools. We make decisions about schools based on processes, protocols, services, programs, the condition of the facility. And by the way, I did mention to the custodial staff today, this school is pristine. And while that wouldn't typically be what I might say in terms of accreditation, I visit a lot of high schools, and I think they were very pleased to hear that, but it's absolutely true. And this facility is an exceptional facility. It took a while to get it, but now that it's here, I hope everybody's enjoying it. It has an impact on what goes on in a school. So we look at all of the standards, and I think as a board, you're probably familiar with the fact that the school recently developed core values and beliefs and expectations, and you've seen them. That is one of the standards, and that is one of the cornerstones of the self-study, and it's certainly one of the cornerstones of a school. This is what this school and the people who work in it, the district, the board, have promised to the students, to every single student who attends this school. Not just a group of students, but each student, every student, all students. We look at the curriculum. How is it written? Is it practiced? Is it followed? Is it monitored? Do the curriculum documents reflect your current core values and beliefs? Do we see it included in instructional practices, which is a standard, another standard on instruction? How do we see the curriculum in a school play out on a daily basis in a school? The heart and soul of what happens every single day. In the classroom, out of the classroom, in the hallway, in the lunchroom, in the gymnasium. We just walked by a wrestling meet. It plays out in so many ways in a school. I asked today for some of the people who are coaches, how they see students being critical thinkers on an athletic field or in an activity that they might be engaged in. Socially being respectful, and the fact that this high school has continually been recognized by MIAA for sportsmanship and respect. You should all take great pride in that. That's I think, again, is very telling about the culture of the school here, the people who work here, and certainly for the students who attend, and the people who raise them and spend time with them outside of school. We have a standard on assessment of and for student learning, which basically asks a school and a district, but particularly in this case the high school, how do you demonstrate that students are learning and are learning effectively? The school has developed academic, social, and civic expectations that reflect 21st century learning. How do you measure those? How do you assess student progress? How do you report it out to students and their parents, and how do you report it out to the community? And then how do you use that information to go back and inform changes in curriculum and instruction? Maybe departmentally, maybe as a school, maybe a couple of departments that might be working on something collaboratively, formally. We do recognize certainly that each state has state tests that they use. You live in the Commonwealth, you have currently the only high stakes test. It's required for graduation. A couple of the other states in New England at some point, probably fairly soon, will be looking at those. And I think people sometimes ask of us, maybe not directly to us, but they ask themselves, how is it that you can accredit a school that is not meeting AYP, Annual Yearly Progress, which was part of the original NCLB? And our answer is, I think, succinct and very much to the point, is that we look at all types of things that go on in schools, and we don't make decisions based on a single test score. We look at quality of programs. We have a standard on school culture and organization. How is the school organized? How do people get along? Are people engaged in opportunities to voice their opinions, be involved in decision-making? No one mentioned here tonight, although I think it's probably been mentioned previously, Sandwich High School has, in the last 3 years, on 2 occasions, participated in our Showcase of Model Schools. And what we do, and remember now, we have 600 and about 60 schools we accredit. Each year, the professional staff selects 12 schools from around New England to come and present, to showcase, literally, what they're doing in a particular high school that's directly related to components of our standards. And on 2 occasions, Sandwich in the last 3 years has been invited to participate. And my point is that this year, they brought a number of students who were involved in the peer mentoring program. And as I said to the faculty today, they were the hit. Everybody just was very impressed with their composure, their leadership, what they could talk about in terms of their school, the pride they take in their school. So the culture of the school, and how is it organized? People engaged in decision-making. Does the board support the core values and beliefs of the school? And in what ways do they demonstrate that? How do people get along in their various roles and responsibilities? We have a standard on school resources, which is very encompassing. It includes guidance services and programs. The facility that we're sitting in here this evening, your library, media center, information center, whatever it may be called, depending upon the school. This is a hub of learning as far as the commission is concerned. This is probably here the largest classroom in the high school, and should be recognized and supported as a classroom. This is a learning facility. And I think for some people who are not involved in the field of education, that is something that perhaps takes additional explanation. But this is really a hub of learning, and it is a beautiful facility. We were in it earlier today. It also includes health services provided by the nursing staff, and it includes the process components and procedures of special education. How students are identified, monitored, referred, placed, supported, etc. The other components of special education in terms of classroom experiences, curriculum instruction and assessment are all included in those standards. But it's a very comprehensive standard. And our 7th standard is on community resources. The facility, the extent to which it appropriately supports programs and services. $220,000 square feet. Somebody on the faculty said it's a lot, but it's a wonderful facility. The level of financial support that's provided by the voters and the community How was that entire process communicated, articulated? Who has input into that process? Are teachers involved in the budgetary process at all levels? How is the budget determined? What's the process? That varies by community, and frankly, it also varies by state. Different states and different communities have different policies and procedures. And the third component of that standard is the whole level of parental and community involvement in the school, in the high school. Parental involvement, businesses, colleges, universities, service organizations that you may have. And what this study asked this professional staff to do, with required involvement in some areas by parents, students, support staff, central office, and other people within the greater community and service organizations, is to take a look at each standard and identify, after having gathered a tremendous amount of evidence, what are your strengths? What are the things that we do well here, that we're effective in doing? What helps to sustain us when we have challenges? And also, what are some of our challenges? This is a process that is very positive. We're not asking what's wrong, and we're never looking for the perfect school. This is a school improvement process. It's a school strategic planning design process for schools and school systems and districts. So what are some of the challenges? What are some of the areas in which you'd like to expand, change completely, try something? I mean, we talked a little bit this afternoon at the faculty meeting. Schools have to be able to take risks and try things. And sometimes they work effectively, and sometimes we go back to the drawing board and say, well, part of it worked, but part of it didn't, but we need to try it again. So there are, and we're not looking for the perfect school. I've never been in one yet, okay? Close, but we ask the school to make judgments on each of those standards. And they will spend 2.5 to 3 semesters of work looking at the standard, gathering their evidence, writing some documents, and then ultimately making some decisions about the extent to which the school believes it's meeting each of those 7 standards, and what the strengths and needs are for each standard, and ultimately for the whole school. When the visiting committee is here in the fall of 2013, that self-study becomes a foundation piece for its work. And quite frankly, I could probably put 16 experienced evaluators in a room with the school self-study, if it were well done, and they could write a report. But they've missed the whole piece. The students, the staff, the interactions. When the visiting committee is here, we will shadow students. And that is talking about the life of a student. And you know what? They know this school as well as anybody does. They really do. They'll always ask if one of us is visiting, how are we doing? We going to pass? You know, this is a really good school. They take pride in their school, and they want to be recognized for it. So when the visiting committee is here, they will use that self-study, but they will have meetings throughout those first 3 days, and then they'll write a report, and ultimately that will become an accreditation report that you then implement again over the next 5 to 6 year period. So it's an ongoing cycle. As Ellen said, it's a continuous process. We don't go away. The self-study is intense in terms of the time commitment, but ultimately it's invaluable in this process. And I do recognize the fact that this professional staff has been allocated quality professional time to do its self-study, and that's wonderful. And for those of you involved in recommending that and for making that decision, I think it's great, and I hope that it continues, because it's time when they're dedicated and they don't have to be worrying about all kinds of other things that become distractions as they're working. So it's a rich process, it's reflective, it's professional, and it should provide you with tremendous value-added to this school and to this community. When people are looking to buy homes and real estate, and they have children in a school system, other than the price of the house and the taxes, what do you think the next thing they want to know about? The schools, the school system. And you have realtors who are very skilled, and that's their job, and they will make recommendations about property based on their views of schools, particularly the high schools. They tend to be what people are asking about. And we get a lot of calls from parents who want to know about schools, if they're moving or relocating. They want to know if we grade schools. No, we don't grade schools. And my final point, I think, would be this. We use the same set of standards for every single school we accredit in the Public Secondary School Commission. Our smallest school is located on the island of North Haven in Maine. They have 14 teachers and under 90 students. And they are doing the same they just finished their self-study. The only way you get there is by boat or plane. There's no bridge. And it's a pre-K to 12 school, and the pride there is just absolutely amazing. We just had a visiting committee there. They did the same self-study as you'll do here as a school like Lowell High School, which has 3,300 students, so many, many more faculty than you do. The same standards, the same process, the same protocols throughout every one of those member schools, and we look at each school individually. Now, this is a one high school community. We have schools in urban areas where we might have 13 to 15 high schools in the city of Boston. Every school is judged and assessed based on the extent to which it is meeting the standards, and not against the school that may be, 3/4 of the way across the city where kids might take the T every day to get back and forth to school. So we look at each school individually, and we monitor throughout the 10-year cycle each school individually. Again, not compared to anybody else except what you're doing in terms of the standards. So that's kind of an overview of the process. Dr. Canfield asked me particularly to talk to the board about it. And in the packets that I've distributed, you have my business card. Feel free to call me at any time. I'm happy to talk to you. Does anyone from the board have a question or a comment? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Very
Very, very
Thank you.
Thank you.